We're going to try this again. So, hey,
Sure.
Blazej, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing great. How are
Hopefully
you?
people can hear you. Yep, I'm good too. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to show me your new project in Kickstarter that's going on right now. For those that don't know, it's La Granja ending on the 11th. So basically, this is going to go down like this. We're going to do a quick overview of the game. We use Tabletop Simulator to kind of give a convention style demo. Then we'll do a sample turn to showcase the mechanics. And after that, we'll do a Q&A. So before we do that, I want to just ask you a couple questions, maybe talk about the game for a minute, okay?
Sure.
Right. So tell us how long you've been with Board and Dice. What's your role in all of this?
So my role in Board and Dice is head of development, which means that I'm helming a department that deals with making the game mechanisms better, making those games better for you. In essence, if we're dealing with a game that is completely new, so it comes as a prototype, we take it all the way through from the prototype to the moment when it is a product that we will be proud to put on your gaming tables. It is basically all of the small nuts and bolts, small changes, large changes, until we are confident that this is the game we want to publish. And this is my part. I actually really like talking about our games because it is working on them has always been a lot of fun, and it is still. And La Granja is one of the newest games. It comes in a slightly different line of games because this is an upgraded reprint of a beloved classic. This is our third Deluxe Master set, which means in this case that we're basically taking everything that was already published for the game, adding some new designer-approved content, and putting it in the game in a upgraded, nice form with everything in one box.
Giant box.
It's not really that giant because one of the things
You have
we
a
really
giant
want
version,
is
though, right?
we do have a giant version. That's true. This time around, we have what is called the La Granda, which is, let's say, a clever play on words. But what
Right.
we wanted here is it's a box with certain components that are oversized, which means that you can have a game that has even more table presence, and that's even more impressive than La Granja itself. Otherwise, normally, apart from La Granda, which comes with those colossal components, and they are really, really awesome, to be honest, we also have the complete game in a single box. And what I wanted to say is that it's always important for us to have the size of this box a specific fit, because if you know those square boxes with which Ticket to Ride comes in, or Arkham Horror or Talisman, or to be honest, all of our games from the T line, then those two boxes stacked one on top of the other is the size of the box. So it's a big box, but it's also one that should fit on your gaming shelves pretty well.
That's good. Right. That can be a problem when they don't. So maybe tell us, give me an elevator pitch for La Granja, like 2 minutes.
Okay,
Just spit it out.
So La Granja is a classic Euro game in which you basically become an owner of a farm on sunny Mallorca. What you're going to be doing there is you're going to basically run it a little bit like, a family business. So every round, which is divided into 4 main phases, you're going to add something to your farm. And in this case, it's going to be in the form of a card. That card will allow you to either add a unique helper, so a unique little ability you're going to add to your game. The card can add a field to your farm, so basically you will get more resources, let's say that way. You can add a little farm extension. Extensions allow you to keep more livestock and give you some extra little abilities, as well as grow your hand of cards. Or finally, you can take a card and put it as a little wagon, as a little cart, and that card comes with an order that if you complete, you'll be able to go to the market. So during the first phase, you're going to add the card. Then during the second big phase of the game, which is called the revenue phase, you're going to roll a bunch of dice. And this is the heart and soul of the game, which is basically the dice drafting mechanism. Those dice will be assigned by their numbers to specific actions on the main board. Once they are rolled, you will start picking them one by one to perform different actions, and those actions will allow you to produce resources, they will allow you to upgrade resources, they will allow you to move stuff around, including moving into your orders, and so on. Once everybody has picked 2 dice, there is 1 die that is always left, and that's the action everybody will be able to do. And once that is done, we're going to go into what is kind of called the delivery phase. During that phase, you're first going to kind of balance 2 very important things. One, how much work you want to put into moving stuff around the board and delivering your goods to the places that need them. And those are both your cards as well as craft buildings located on the main board. And how much time you need to spend resting. And resting, actually, the more you rest, the quicker you will be able to, the earlier you'll be able to get up on the next day, which means you're going to be earlier in the player order. Now, once you have done your deliveries, there is finally the kind of the end phase, during which you're going to get points, and you can get points for the market stalls you were able to place on the main board. You do that by actually delivering through the cards you previously tucked under your board and filled those. But you'll also be able to get some points. Well, you'll be able to get some points for your presence there, as well as for your position on the siesta track of the game. And once you go through those steps, a round will be over, and you'll progress to the next round. The game consists of 6 rounds. During those rounds, you will kind of repeat those steps, building your own abilities, building your farm, then using it to kind of take over the main board a little bit, as well as do some other stuff. And at the end of the game, as with many Euro games, the person who was the best at their job, which is measured in the immortal victory points, is going to be the winner.
Right on. Long elevator, but we're there. So we'll no, it's all good. It's a lot to process. There's so many layers in this game. So what I want to do, we can switch gears here and dive into the demo. But to preface it, I want you to talk to me about the game like I know very little about it, because basically I want this series that I'm doing here to help people make informed decisions based on what they see in the video, not necessarily what I have to say about the game or whatever. You know what I mean? It's about showing you the working components and how it plays a little bit and general overview, and then let people decide for themselves. So with that being said, we can go ahead and get into TCS here.
Absolutely.
You're in there now, right?
Yes, I am. You should be able to see.
Yep.
My
you can see what I see.
Around.
Yep.
Right.
All right. So talk us through it here, and what you want to dive into.
Okay. So basically, firstly, what we see here is the view is focused on your player board. It is also known as the farm board. The farm board is, again, your farm, which you're going to be which you're going to be improving over the course of the game to be able to perform many different interesting things. Now, this, like I said, will happen according to a specific structure. The farm board, which you see in front of you, is divided into specific areas that you will be able to use in different phases of the game and to create different effects. Now, let's maybe go into a more detailed structure of the game. Like I said, the game kind of follows 4 phases. So your first phase, and let me just take a quick look here. Yes, so during the first phase, known as the farm phase, what you're going to be doing is you're going to pick one of the 4 cards, one card in your hand, because, well, when you're starting the game, you're always going to start with 4 cards. You're going to pick one of those cards, and you're going to use it as one of 4 things. So what can you use it at? Firstly, you can use it as a farm extension. When you use a card as a farm extension, you're going to tuck it on the right-hand side of your board. Yeah, a little bit like this. I'm going to perhaps help myself a little bit here, and I'm going to try to tuck the card here. Again, this is TTS. It's actually much easier in the actual game. So you're going to tuck it like here, and this farm extension is going to bring you some special abilities. Yes, this is not exactly how I wanted this, so maybe we're going to try it again. Great. So if a card tucked in here, will provide you with certain benefits. The first thing that might be interesting is that your hand size is going to grow. The second thing is that you're going to get some extra paid deliveries. This is something I'm going to talk about a little bit later. The third thing that you may get here is a bit of income. So every turn you might be able to actually get some silver. Finally, some cards will also have a pigsty. So an extra place here to get in some more livestock, in this case, pigs. So this is one of the things you can do with the card. Placing cards there comes with a cost. Every card you place there costs 1 resource, and then it costs 1 resource per number of cards you have there. So the first one will only cost you 1 resource, but as the game progresses, this becomes more and more expensive. The second thing that you can do with a card is you can place it as a field. We're going to move to the left here. So you can place it as a field. So when you place it as a field, like so, again, I'm going to move it under a little bit. No, this is not exactly... I think we bumped into a snap point, so let me try to actually move it out of the way a little bit. Let's move a bit to the right. Still, I think this should work. I know that one of the cards vanished in the meantime, so...
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, so basically, when you place a card as a field, you can see on the left-hand side of the card that there are some elements of this field, so that there are different fields. And in this case, this is a field with wheat. That field is going to, at a certain time, not very long from now, fill up with wheat. You can also have olives, or you can have olives and grapes which grow on your fields, and then they can be used for different things during the game. Now, yet another thing you can do with a card is you can use it as a helper. Every card in the center, like so, comes with a special ability. Now, that special ability, when you tuck the card under the board, you look just at the special ability, and that special ability, that is a helper that's going to bring their unique special ability to the game. So, for example, the porter here says that when you choose revenue space 2 or 6, take 2 different revenues from that space. This is something that's going to make sense really quickly. Yeah, let's try to, once again, move this under like so. And finally, the thing you can do with a card is you can make it into an order. To make it into an order, let me try again to move this around, because apparently we have a few places that can usefully snap into place. And let's try this. Yes. So when you place a card like so, everything that you can see from this card, once again, is the order that is on top. You can see it here. So this order, basically, there will be a number of resources which you can deliver to this card to be able to take a spot on the market in the center of the board. Once you do this, and now the important thing is that when we have a couple of cards, when we start the game, we will actually get 4 cards, and when we start the game, we're going to do it twice. So we're going to tuck 2 cards, but later on, during every single turn, you're going to place just 1 card, or none if you wish. But you can then place up to 1 card to add as a farm extension, as a field, as a helper, or as kind of a new order. Now, once you've done that, you're going to collect your income. Now, income, this is a very simple thing. Wherever you see a little hand like this one, that's something you're going to collect in the game. These are collected in the beginning if you have anything as farm extensions. For example, if you can collect extra money as income, this is something you're going to collect at that time. Then once you collected your income, the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to add growth to your farms. So for example, to your fields. So for example, here we have a space on this field, which is going to be covered up with a player marker. This little player marker here becomes a wheat, which you will be able to use later. Now, if you have at least 2 pigs, which is on this side of the board again, if you have at least 2 pigs, and you have space for more, they're going to produce offspring. So you're going to end up with more pigs. Now, once this step is done, there is the last step of the farm phase. And I said there are multiple ways to improve your farm. One of them is buying a roof. So your farm has 5 spaces for roofs, basically from here to here. And every round, you're able to buy a roof tile. Roof tiles are situated on the main board. They are basically here. In player order, and during the first turn in reverse player order, you will have the opportunity to purchase one of those roof tiles. When you purchase a roof tile, you simply pay the value of that roof tile, and a little spoiler, the value is always equal to the round you're in. So the first roofs will cost you 1 silver, whereas the roofs in round 6 will cost you 6. You take it and place it on your player board in the leftmost position. So in this case, it would be placed here. Now, this can be used during the game to perform its special effect. You don't have to use it immediately. In this case, at any time you would like to receive 2 resources, 2 different resources from olives, grapes, and wheat, you can flip it face down to actually receive the resource. Right, so this is roof tiles. Once we are done with roof tiles, we go to the next main phase of the game, which is the revenue phase. And for that, let's move closer to the main board. During the revenue phase, you're going to get a number of dice. This number of dice is equal to twice the number of players plus 1. You're going to roll those dice. Let me try to roll them. Yes, you're going to roll those dice. And then you're going to place them according to the numbers on the revenue spaces. So we would get all the ones here, exactly 5, 3, and 2. And now, once again, in player order, you're going to be drafting those dice one by one and performing the actions associated with those dice. So, for example, in this case, if you draft a 1, you can immediately take a new pig and place it on your farm. If you take a 2, you can take any of the depicted resources here, so again, olive, wheat, or grape, or you can take a new farm card into your hand. The 3 allows you to take 2 resources, but those 2 resources have to be different. A die with the number 4 allows you to take 4 silver. Silver is very useful in the game, allows you to buy many interesting things. Number 5 allows you to take one of 3 combinations. So either you can upgrade 2 resources, or you can upgrade a resource and move on the siesta track, or move twice on the siesta track. Let's stop for a moment to talk about upgrading resources and moving on the siesta track. Every single star allows you to take a resource and move it into an upgrade then. And let's focus on the player board right here. Right now, what we have is 1 wheat. Now, we can move this wheat into here, thus making it an upgraded resource. This is what a single star would allow you to do. And as a helpful reminder, you have those stars actually depicted next to the resources that are upgraded. When it comes to moving on the siesta track, we're going to move to the right-hand side of the board. Whenever you get a siesta track symbol, like this one, you can move up. In this case, that would be the green player. So a green player can move up the siesta track. The siesta track will both provide you points, but it will also be the new player order. Whenever player order changes, we always look at the siesta track to determine the new player order. Right. Finally, we have action number 6. Action number 6 gives you one of 2 options. Either you're going to receive 2 coins, 2 silver, or you receive this little donkey symbol. Now, this donkey symbol is a delivery. Deliveries are an incredibly important part in the game because deliveries allow you to basically take part in in the orders that you have on your board, but they also allow you to deliver to craft buildings on the main board. How does a delivery work? Well, in this case here, if I get a delivery, I can move one resource either to a card tucked under my player board or to the main board. So let me very quickly simulate a resource here. Let's say I actually also still have this wheat. And this one resource allows me to grab this wheat and place it here on the wheelbarrow card. Now this one is fulfilled, and if at any time I am able to also deliver a grape here, I will be able to finish this wheelbarrow card. And what that does, we'll talk about this in just a moment, I could also deliver this to the main board, to one of the craft buildings. For example, right here we have a craft building. So this wheat, instead of taking it to the card, I could take it to one of those positions right here. And again, if at any point I manage to fill up a whole row, and that row basically now belongs to me, to the green player in this case, I would complete a delivery to a craft building, which would come with its own effect. And in the case of craft buildings, it's exactly taking a craft marker, immediately performing its depicted effect, then flipping it over and placing it on the player board. And to do that, actually, yes, this should change it into, and this is something that I'm going to receive every time I receive income from my farm. Now, let's come back to the card here. Yes, let's come back to the card here. What happens when I when I completely fill a wheelbarrow card? What happens is that I'm immediately going to do two things. Firstly, I'm going to receive a trade good. So I'm going to grab a resource and place it in the trade goods section on the board. Trade goods are really, really useful in the game, as they can stand in for many different things. You can get 4 coins, you can get 2 different resources, a card, a pig, or 2 immediate upgrades if you spend a trade good, and you can pretty much do it anytime. So this is one very good reason to fill your wheelbarrow cards. But the second thing is that you're going to take a closer look at the number here on that wheelbarrow card, and you're going to take one of your markers and place it on that number on the main market, on the main board. So let's center on the main board here. I can place it on any number 2. So for example, I could place it here. The important thing about this is also that if this was a higher number, let's say it was actually the number 3 and I placed it here, I get to displace every marker that has a lower number, and I get to score points for this. So I would basically score not only for this market stall, but also for anyone I was able to displace as I placed this market stall. Okay, so these were deliveries, which we spoke about a little early because there is a whole phase devoted to them. Before that happens, however, just as a reminder, everybody will grab a total of 2 dice. Once everybody grabs a total of 2 dice, so those are basically moved to the farms, and there are special little spots for them on the cards, on the player boards. Once everybody has done that, 1 die will still remain in the revenue spaces. So for example, this one here. And once it is here, everybody will get to take advantage of this one action. So now in player order, everybody would be able to use this specific action. And this is, in essence, the revenue phase. And once the revenue phase is over, we are going to go to what is called the transportation phase. Transportation, in essence, is all or almost all about delivering goods. During the transportation phase, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to grab all of your donkey tiles. Everybody has a set of an identical set of donkey tiles like this one, and you're going to secretly choose one of them. you probably already know what they do. Every single donkey here is a single delivery. Every single hat is a siesta, is a movement on the siesta track. So let's say we actually choose this one. We're going to flip it face down, place it there on the board. These remain face down for our opponents not to see them. And once everybody has chosen their donkey tile, we're going to flip it face up to reveal the actual numbers. Now, the first thing that's going to happen is that in current player order, we're going to move up the siesta track according to the number of little hats, little siesta markers printed on the donkey tile. So, for example, let's take a look at the siesta track right now. We have a green and a blue player. Let's say the green player had that tile, so they're going to move up twice. And then let's say the blue player had only one donkey, so they're going to move like so. In this case, and now we're going to check the player order. So the green player would become first, the blue player would immediately become the second player. Then we're going to go into actual deliveries. And this comes in kind of two separate steps. In step one, everybody is going to use their free deliveries. Their free deliveries are the one printed on their donkey tiles. So the green player can make use of 2 deliveries right now. I already told you how deliveries work, so these rules do not change here at all. Once everyone has had the chance to use their free deliveries, we're going to use paid deliveries. Now, paid deliveries are depicted on the right-hand side of your farm board. In this case, everybody starts with 1 free delivery available, but as I have demonstrated previously, I'm going to try to very quickly demonstrate it again. As you upgrade your farm, you might get access to more paid deliveries. So in this case, I could pay up to 2 silver to be able to perform up to 2 paid deliveries. Those deliveries work in exactly the same as free deliveries, only where you have to pay for them. Once everybody has had the chance to perform their free deliveries and then their paid deliveries, we're going to move to the next phase of the game. And in this last phase of the game, we are going to basically get some points and kind of finish the turn. So the last phase is aptly named the scoring phase. So what happens during the scoring phase is that every single marker that I have in the market, so every single stall here, will score me 1 point. Furthermore, I'm going to get points from the siesta track. So I look at the position of my siesta marker and I see if it's within a bracket of a given number of points. If it does, I'm going to receive those points as well. And once we have scored those points, we are going to move the siesta markers back down, keeping their order. So, for example, this would be their order because you break ties in favor of the player who is on the top. And once that is done, you're going to go into the next round. Now, these are pretty much all of the rules. And by the way, these little tokens here are to indicate player order. So the green player would immediately receive, before that, of course, the token number 1. And once that is done, we're going to proceed to the next turn. This is set up really easily because we're just going to get rid of roof tiles with the number 1, and we're going to place roof tiles with the number 2. So these will be the roof tiles available during round 2. And this is basically a broad, well, it's maybe not even a broad overview, because I think I gave you like 95% of the rules of the game, of the base game, of course, that is, by telling you about all of those actions. There are a couple of small things extra that maybe would need to be explained, but if you're playing the game without any extra modules or without those internal expansions, this is pretty much everything you need to know to be able to play a full game. Once
Right.
the game ends after round 6, there isn't a big scoring of points. Your points will come from the game. The only thing is that you're going to basically, at the end of the game, you're going to sell everything that can be sold from your player board. So as you can see, some of those sections here have those little green numbers, and this is the number of silver you can sell a given thing for at any time. At the end of the game, you're just going to sell everything that is sellable. Please note that the upgraded goods are not sellable. And for every 5 coins you have at the end, you're going to score 1 extra point. So like I said, there isn't a significant large swing scoring at the end of the game. You're going to be gradually building your base of victory points as the game continues.
So for me, games that are wide open are a little harder for me to like decide where to go. Is there any starting things to help players guide? Like what are the paths to victory where, that you see scoring wise? What are the different ways that people usually go strategically?
So like the first step of every La Granja game is going to be looking at your hand of cards. Since you can build a very unique farm every time you play, I'm going to actually grab those cards from here. There are a lot of ways to approach every given game. And out of the 4 starting cards, you're going to place 2 under your farm. And there is a little bit of decision here. What I often like to do is first take a look at the special abilities I am given by those cards, because sometimes they can nicely set me up for the whole game. Now, if you want a bit of a broader view of what you can do, basically the kind of the heart of the game is delivering. And whether you want to deliver to different craft buildings or you want to deliver to mostly cards, this may determine your strategy for the game. Now, let's maybe take a quick look at what we have here. We have, for example, a card called Farm Worker, which says spend 1 victory point to play 1 card, paying all the cost if this applies. This is a card that you can use once per round, hence the little symbol here. Now, if you play a card like this, you can kind of build a little bit of a strategy or a little bit of an engine around this. But it is also a card that might be a bit dangerous, because in the end, it means that if you use it effectively throughout the whole game, it will effectively cost you 6 victory points, which might be the difference between winning and losing the game. However, if you want to keep it and if you want to have it as a special ability, it will allow you to do one of 2 things. Either you will be much more flexible when it comes to your wheelbarrow cards, so you will be able to add them basically whenever, or you might be able to build up your farm specifically in a way pretty much nobody else will be able to build. And for example, you can use a farm worker to add a large number of fields, which will produce a lot of resources for you every turn. And having a lot of resources gives you the freedom to either go for wheelbarrows or to go for those big and expensive craft buildings. Now, when we're talking about craft buildings, there is also a little bit of decision making when it comes to the craft markers. Now, craft markers are a very smart and a very interesting way to build up your board, but also they are a way to gain points. For example, right here we have this 1 craft marker which says that you're going to get 1 farm good or a pig. And this will happen every round. So if you manage to get it early, it's going to kind of pay in spades. However, one very important thing is that you also get victory points for completing craft buildings. And if you manage to complete this craft building, basically you get victory points equal to the current round. So in the first round, this craft building, placing this will only give you 1 point. In the one but last round, this will pay out for you only once, but you will get 5 points for your trouble. However, going early into one of those craft buildings will often again give you freedom to make different things and adopt slightly different strategies. This, however, every game is slightly uh, different from game to game, because if we take a look at the main board, you can see that there are those three X's. These are placed randomly when you start the game, and these are three craft buildings which are not available as you start the game. So right off the bat, you don't have 6 choices when it comes to craft buildings, you have 3. The moment a craft building is delivered to in full for the first time, so the moment one player delivers all of the goods, they are going to take off the lowest number blocking another craft building, and that building will then open as well. So in the beginning, there is not this huge and maybe sometimes overwhelming choice of which of the 6 craft buildings I should use. There will always be 3. That will make every game again a little bit different, but also this might serve as something that can help you in deciding what your strategy is going to be. But to answer your question, I know it took me a lot of time to get there.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
If you want to know what to do in the beginning, one of the simplest answers is try to find a way to consistently produce some sort of resources. Whether it's going to be an engine that's going to simply produce you silver, or something that's going to produce you farm goods, or perhaps a way to develop your pigsty and be able to consistently get a pig every turn. That's always something that's going to be useful when, even if you don't have an immediate idea what you're going to do with those things as the game progresses, because often La Granja can also be a game of both strategy and opportunity, in the sense that sometimes a new opportunity will arise, and it's always a great idea to seize it. Now, finally, a very natural strategy for the game, and one that is pretty much always available, is the market strategy. What you want to do as part of that is play wheelbarrow cards, hopefully wheelbarrow cards with a slightly higher value, because we didn't shuffle this deck, I'm sorry to say, with a slightly higher value. Of course, I'm going to now draw only low value ones, but we have one here. This requires 4 goods, but as you can see, it not only provides you the trade good, but also allows you to place your marker on a high value spot. On a high value spot like a 5, for example, and when you place on a 5, it's quite possible that you're going to take some enemy markers with you, some opponent markers with you, but there is also a high chance that this marker is going to survive a long time on the board, providing you a lot of points, because again, each of those markers every round will provide you a point as you kind of dominate the marker, the market here in the middle. But again, coming back, the first thing you want to do is you want to find a way to produce some sort of resource consistently, and then find a good way to spend that resource to your advantage.
So let's talk about scoring. Endgame wise, what different things give us all points?
Well, like I said, without the modules, because with the modules that are in the game, and the game comes with 11 modules, and we can discuss a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about what modules were new to it, but just as a base game and what we're looking at here.
So in the base game, there is very little scoring at the end. The game is basically, most of your score will be gained during the game. So, like I said, you want to pay attention to points in the game, and one of the crucial things in La Granja is to pay attention to the little points you get from turn to turn. It's a game where you start by gaining 1, 2, 3 points, sometimes even spending them, because if we could kind of zoom in on that space, as you put farm extensions, you have to pay more and more for them, and you have to pay in different resources. And that means that if you do, sooner or later, you're going to pay 1 or 2 victory points to place other cards here as farm extensions. So basically, focusing on gaining victory points is kind of an important thing. Another thing that can be extremely useful in the game and can score you a couple of victory points very easily are the roof tiles. Because with the exception of the first roof tile you're going to buy, the roof tiles later are going to cover up those victory point values and provide you those victory points immediately. So if you build your full roof, you're going to get 10 points out of that. And while La Granja is a game where you can, well, basically, if you're playing it with modules, you can get a lot of points. Scoring something like 10 throughout the game from one thing is a very, very solid thing. It's a solid bump up when it comes to your score. And the other thing that is very useful, roof tiles are always cool. They're always useful. They always provide you something that you can use apart from just gaining points. So in this case, this is effectively a pig, and this is a single resource. Now, what you have to know when you start playing the game is that the further in, the worse the cost to the quality of ability is. So, for example,
So that's paying 2 for that pig, right? Versus paying 5 for these resources, right?
For just one resource. So they don't get better. In fact, they get weaker and weaker, but they provide you more and more points. And you still actually get a little special ability, which can often be so crucial, because paying five silver for just one of these resources, that sounds like madness, especially that you can get those resources for 3 coins, as depicted here, because some resources you can freely buy during the game. However, if it is a roof tile, that gives you 3 points, and it is the resource that you desperately need to finish that one card or to finish that one craft building, it can be often a godsend and something that is worth fixing your eyes on as you play the game.
Right on. What do you get when you fill those cards? I missed that. So like the negotiator, this is up in a market spot, right? Basically.
Right.
Well, so I want to fill it with those 2 goods.
Yes. So the negotiator shouldn't be really showing here. This is a bit of a this is a bit of tabletopia, because you could slide this card in. And by the way, for our version of the game, we are producing not double layered but triple layered player boards. Yeah, 3 layers. You're going to get, like, the top and the middle layer create nice wells for dice and for other elements and for craft markers. But then we also have this little skeleton under the player board, which organizes the cards there. So this card, you can just slide it in there, and it will not lodge in there, but it'll stay where it needs to be, and it's easy to put there, and it's going to be easy to take out of there. So, but anyway, again, coming back to your question. So when you fulfill an order on a wheelbarrow card, and that happens by having all of those token spots filled. So I'm going to actually demonstrate, why not? A couple of things happen. So firstly, you're going to, and in the physical game, it's actually quite comfortable, because what you're going to do is one of those will simply become a trade good. Again, trade goods are massively, massively useful, because they can, you can get some money from them, you can get 2 resources that you need, you can get to take or to play a card, you can get a pig, or you can get 2 upgrades. Again, these things can be really massively useful at the right time. And also, you're going to take one of those tokens and you're going to place it in the middle on the market. So I'm going to grab this token, go to the market, find a spot that says 2, and place it there. Now, a 2 is not going to kind of eliminate other markers, but a higher value will eliminate markers belonging to other players, and you will score points for that. And then at the end of the round, you're going to score points for all of your markers. So if the round ended now, I would score 1, 2, 3, 4 points just for being there. Now, what happens to the card? Well, the card, regrettably, is discarded. The card has to leave. But then you have exactly 3 spots for the wheelbarrows, and you can fill them up with cards, and basically deliver to them until you've delivered all of them, and come basically for the rewards. And again, this is probably one of the essential strategies to the game, to try to establish as much of a presence on the market, and to try to establish in such a way that you are difficult to kind of dislodge from there, but you are able to get rid of other players, score for that, and then score extra points as the game progresses because you are present on the market.
Do you will those player boards fit sleeve cards? Sleevers
Yes,
want to know.
absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah,
We're happy.
absolutely.
There you go,
actually
Mike.
we actually have an add-on with sleeves, because the Paladin card protection is our brand.
Right.
These are our sleeves. So not only do we basically offer them, we also made sure that they fit, and we made double sure by taking a sleeve, and it is a premium sized sleeves. So for those of you folks who don't buy Paladin but buy other premium sleeves, Paladins are premium sleeves. So basically, when you stick your card in there, and then into that sleeve, and then into under the farm board, it's going to fit there without a problem. Now, unsleeved cards, there is going to be a bit of wiggle room, but it doesn't mean that the card slides around. Those differences are rather small. They come like in millimeters. If you have too few millimeters, the card is not going to fit. But with a little bit of extra space there, the card doesn't move around too much. But you can both fit cards which are unsleeved, and you can fit sleeved cards. And maybe to preemptively answer another question that often pops up, all of those things you see here will come in one big box. That big box will come in an insert, and that insert will have enough space to fit cards both unsleeved and sleeved. So people who sleeve, don't worry, we got your back. We really, really like you. We're sleevers ourselves, and we want to be sure that you're not left out.
No sleeve shame in here.
Yep.
We've got another question. I know we'll go over the modules here and look at the campaign page for a second, but there's 4 of them, right? Do they all
Modules?
scale? Yeah.
No, there are 11 modules.
11. So, I see what they said. Do all modules scale 1 to 4? So do all the different modules, are they available at all player counts?
Well, I would like to say yes. I have to say no, but there is, for example, a module which is called Betwixt, which is a module specifically designed to create more interaction between players. And this one doesn't. But otherwise, if I remember correctly, all other modules are fully compatible from 1 to 4 players. So we're working kind of double time to make sure that as much of this module content is fully compatible with the Solar Automa, which is, by the way, created by David Turci and John Albertson. And pretty much all of these, apart from the one expansion, one module that was specifically kind of created for higher player counts, will work with the solo mode.
And speaking of the solo modes, I like to use some of the AIs for 2. Sometimes we don't like a lot of attack each other, but sometimes we would like to mitigate around a neutral player. Will his solo elements work in a 2-player game? Have you tried that? Is there any reason why it wouldn't?
We have not tried that, and there is a reason for this. This game works really well with 2 players. Now, what you see here is the market here, for example. This is the market, the way it would look for 3 players.
Right.
There are elements that are kind of hidden by those tiles, which we added to the game. You don't need to use the tiles, by the way, because the spaces that are used for 4 players are marked on the board. The thing is, though, that if you don't want to, that on the other side, there is a 2-player side, which has a custom-made market for 2 players, which means that the one part that is really dependent on the number of players, how much space you're going to have there, what strategy you're going to adapt, is fully and absolutely custom-made for the 2, 3, and 4-player experience. And of course, the 2-player experience, in a way, is also the one-player experience, because if you're playing the Automa, you're going to be playing against one opponent, and that opponent is going to be the Automa opponent, hence the two-player side used also for one player.
I'll be crazy and try it out for you and let you know how it works in a 3-player game.
All right. All right.
No, so it seems all good there. Just for the sake of time, I think we're running to the point of where I'd like to keep these. I'm checking to see if anybody else has any other questions. You seem to cover a lot. I really appreciate you taking the time to, show us the game and have me involved. It means a lot.
Like I said, the pleasure is pretty much all mine, really. I love doing that.
Well, we'll see, man, considering that I've fudged up the launch on this and we had no audio. So hopefully people catch this on the replay and it provides them some value. If they're still on the fence, want to learn more about the game, I definitely highly recommend checking out Gaming Rules' tutorial and playthrough. Paul Grogan's one of the best at those. I want to give an extra special thanks to everyone that tuned in. And remember, if you like what you see, hit the subscribe buttons. That stuff matters. Go check out the campaign. There's 50 some hours left right now. We're heading into 48. We have a giveaway. You still have time to enter until about 11 o'clock tonight to win a copy of the game. We'll let the winners know the next day, and then we'll be pushing for stretch goals at the last 48 with here. So,
well, I have to.
Let's talk. We didn't go over stretch goals, so am I speaking out of place there?
We're done with stretch goals.
You're done.
Everything there was to unlock. Yes.
I haven't had any time, so that's awesome. If I were had done my research, I could have known that.
But I think because we still have daily unlocks, we have this pool of cards. We unlock them bit by bit every day, so we still have the daily unlock for tomorrow and one for the day after tomorrow. These are not connected to any sort of goals. These are not financial. These are not social. This is just something we're kind of adding to the game progressively and having a bit of fun with it as the project moves through its days. However, when it comes to financial stretch goals, we put everything we could put in the game.
Okay.
It kind of, if you've been following projects by Board and Dice and before that, you probably know that this had happened in the past. We kind of have this approach that we come with a certain amount of content, and this content is kind of something that we work on before the project, and we are certain that this works well, and we are certain that this is something that improves the game and that you're going to have fun with. And we kind of approach it that if we run out during the campaign, and we were kind of surprised by how quickly it picked up in those last days. We were kind of thinking that this will not happen so quickly. But again, our backers turned out to be so amazing and so generous that we ran out a bit early. And we really don't want to add something that we're going to conjure up out of thin air right now, because there is always a risk that it's not going to be as good as the rest, or there is a risk that it's not going to be as easy to produce, or we're not going to be as experienced with producing that extra thing we suddenly decided to the game because we felt that we have to. So we want to give everyone good content, and because of that, if we don't get a single dollar, we're going to be super happy. Like from this point on, if we don't get a single dollar, we're going to be super happy because we have a lot of people with us, and we really don't want to push anything into this game that does not belong there. That is just pulled out of thin air.
Right, just make something up just to appease people. You're making the game you want to make, and that's a good thing.
But we also really want this to be something that the backers are going to like, and they're going to feel that this is a game we made as good as it can be for them. This is saying that to appease. It's often, the situation is often that everybody justly wants the game to have even more content, but we kind of want to respect everyone who has pledged for this by giving them the content that is on par, that is high quality. But we also want to keep true to our word, and adding extra content at the last moment creates risks of things getting delayed, of production getting delayed, and we promise to deliver at a given time. And again, everybody who follows us knows that we are usually pretty spot on when it comes to when things are delivered from us, and we really want to keep it. We want to hold true to our promises, and in this case, we don't want to jeopardize it with last-minute additions that were not thought through, that were not worked on really well.
Yeah, they add cost and time and delay, and we don't need to push things back further than everything else that's going on. So I did have one
Exactly.
question. Kira asked us, and I'm looking at the modules as we scroll down the page. What's your favorite module?
What's my favorite module? One of those modules was actually designed by me, and I will just address the elephant in the room. I like the module I designed,
What?
and I'm going
that's
to.
That's a shocker.
Yes, yes. I'm going to be shameless about that because it's a very small module that adds. It's a module that's super easy to use, but at the same time, and that module is, by the way, hired hands. It's a super easy to use module that gives you just that little bit of extra options. So I like it, but this is not my favorite module. The truth is that I have two truly favorite modules. One is kind of one of the biggest modules, which is the module by Adam Krapinski. So the bustling town, because it adds an extra dimension to the board in the middle. Apart from putting market stalls there, you get to put buildings there, and you kind of get to vie for control over those buildings. So there is even more interaction using it, but there are still even more special abilities. And one of the coolest things about La Granja is that every time you play it, you kind of build this little tableau of special abilities. You can get them from helpers on the cards. You can get some special abilities from craft markers. These are not huge abilities, but they are abilities which change the game a little bit. And with the buildings, you get yet another layer of this. So I really, really like this. And it's going to come as no surprise that my second favorite, and I really can't decide which one is the one that I would favor more, is the Ladies of La Granja, which again brings player powers to the game. So it brings yet another unique ability. And this time it's one you're going to get from the start. They are all interesting, and each of them allows you to either be helpful in many things you do, or almost build a strategy around that one cool thing a given Lady of La Granja offers you as you play the game. So I think these would be my favorite. Although if somebody asked me, I'm completely new to the game, which module should I add? I would say, please play the game without any modules first to get a feel for what you like. And if you really have to add the module on your first play, add my module, which is hired hands, because this is one that actually makes a couple of things even easier. So it's going to be easier for you to get a feel for the game. It's kind of a module for, I would even say it's a module for a new player that allows you to brush over some maybe strategic mistakes you can make in the game in the beginning.
Well, it's a missed opportunity. You didn't wear the little red bandana around your neck today. You could have pushed the hired hands, and I don't see the beard on their face, man. That could have been you. I don't know.
You know what? I think I need to look into this. We
need to talk to Philip about changing the art on those. But I think we've covered a lot. I really do appreciate your time. I don't want to keep these long. The goal is to keep them shorter to just give people an overview and answer any questions we might have. And so with that, I'll thank you again for your time, and everybody that tuned in.